and CEO of DLA Ignite. With me today, I've got Brandon Lee, and Brandon is the CEO and founder of Funnel Amplified. And we're going to talk about the importance of conversations on social. Why? Because conversations on social create sales. Before we get into that, Brandon, where can people get hold of you?
LinkedIn's best. We're on LinkedIn. I'm sure I'm tagged on your post, but it's Brandon Lee Social Selling is my LinkedIn handle.
So you've been on an interesting journey, especially with social, and I don't know whether you call it an epiphany, but you certainly had you were in a situation back in 2017 when you stood up in front of some people and they all laughed at you.
Yeah, exactly. They did laugh at me, and I'm going to pull this out here as part of it. I spent my analog days, if you will. I had a company that helped thousands of sales reps build relationships with their targeted audience, and we did that by creating conversations. We did it in an offline world. So the outside looking in, I owned a marketing company and I owned a printing company. But what we really owned at the core of it was we helped thousands of salespeople build relationships on trust. It gave them, and all of it started, conversations. And this is a little beat up and it's old, but this is what it looked like. It was a personal magazine, and the contents in here, all of this had nothing to do with sales, had nothing to do with their product. This was all, the content was all about home and decor and travel and technology and food. And then this magazine dripped to their audience every month. And what it did was, now, first of all, our company had a renewal rate, which means our product was working. And it was working for our clients because this was not a sales pitch. This was a gift. This was a conversation, and it created influence. So when I started looking at what everything was happening with digital and how digital, email, social, inbound marketing, content was all being used, I thought, man, we've taken the human element out of this and it's not working. I mean, it worked early on because it was new and novel. We all went, ooh, I got mail, and we all checked our email.
Yeah.
And now it's been overused so much that we just don't care about our email. So when you focus on the basics of what drives human connection, it still works.
So you stood up in front of a conference.
Oh yeah.
and spoke, and everyone laughed at you.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Back in 2017.
Yeah, it was in 2017, and I was at a sales conference. It was filled with about 400 or 500 people, enterprise level, mid SMB. And I got up and I started talking about how we needed to, blow up the silos between sales and marketing, how marketing was going to have to start learning how to equip sales with the content they need to develop relationships earlier in the engagement process, right? We got to think about how do we get connected to buyers before they're even in their buyer's journey, in order to win the journey. And there was a woman there, I'm in the South now, and you learn terms like bless her heart, which sounds really nice and positive, but it's not. She could not emphatically enough disagree with me. I mean, she just was sitting there shaking her head and looking up and disagreeing with me. And the people sitting next to her were laughing, and they just thought I was absolutely crazy. And on one hand, I had this moment of complete insecurity of going, oh my gosh, like maybe I'm totally off base here. What's going on? And then there was another part of me that actually just kept empowering me, because I know that it works. I've seen it demonstrated so often that you can't, as much as we want to make LinkedIn professional, at the end of the day, professional. I mean, my best business opportunities, as I say, that I did more business in the bar than I did in the boardroom, because that's where relationships start. And when there is that trust and there is that friendship and that relationship, and I could say friendship within business, because people go, you're not, you don't become friends. Well, bull. Like, I become friends with a lot of my customers because I'm very relational. And what happens is I get more referrals, I get more repeat business, my door gets opened, just because you build relationships with people.
So you have a very different LinkedIn profile to other people. Can you just talk us through that?
Yeah,
Your summary title. If you're watching or listening to this, go and have a look at Brandon's LinkedIn profile, because his summary title is very different from other people's.
Yeah, and you notice I did change it recently.
I did notice you took.
Yeah, I like to change it. This is the way I look at my headline. My headline is a lot like a conversation starter, right? And if you go to the same networking event and you keep using the same, conversation starter over and over, people eventually roll their eyes like, oh yeah, I've heard that one before. So I am thinking, every 6 weeks ish or so. But yeah, so my headline, I'll share the one that I had because it did make a lot of people go, and I had a lot of feedback, positive and negative. But this is it's an accurate thing. I was sitting around. We've got 4. I want to call them teenagers, but 2 of them are no longer teenagers. They're in their 20s. But we had a rare occasion. We were all together, and we're sitting around, the island in our kitchen, talking, laughing, and everything. And they introduced me to a term that's called RBF, and resting B face. And we were laughing. I'd never heard it before. And they said, well, Dad, you tend to have RDF, and resting dick face. And I said, what are you talking about? And they said, yeah, when you're thinking, you look like you're mad. That's why all our lives we're always like, Dad, are you mad at something? And you're always like, no. And so, that's who I am. And that's my relationship with my children. We have 5 kids. And so I made that my headline. It said, my kids.
Because it's about you.
Because it's about me. And it's also how I want to portray myself. And if somebody is going to do business with me, they're gonna get what they see. And when I look at headlines of VP of marketing, director of this, director of that, it's like, of course, we all put our best foot forward. But I think what makes us different, what makes us more human, is when we're approachable and we are truly human. And that means, we don't always just put our best foot forward. Nobody cares about my resume anyway. And we know that expression, and I'll stop, I promise. Nobody cares what you know until they know that you care. And so I choose to demonstrate more of my humanness and that I care, and the rest of it will come later.
But the key thing is that you said at the beginning of that was that it created conversations for you.
Yeah, it did. And I did have some that sent me messages that said, dude, you've got to change that. Like, what are you doing? That the people are not going to like it. And
but the thing is that's a conversation.
It is.
Yeah.
Excuse me. It is a conversation. And I've had some others that said, and this was a CMO of a medical company, 1,500 employees ish, something like that, 1,800 employees. I can't remember. So, good company. Sent me a message. Just said, I saw your headline, resting D face, huh? I can't believe you did it. And he kind of messaged some things. He said, hey, we should talk. And so, we get a call scheduled, and it opens up more conversations. And I don't look at those as conversations to sell. I look at those as conversations to get to know people, conversations to serve people. And, a lot of times sales comes out of it.
Yeah. So let's talk about content, because we really want to thinking about using content as a way of creating conversations. Mm-hmm. So how is it that you're using content to create conversations? Because you actually said, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, before we came on, that you put one piece of content out, you got what, 8? You've got 8 calls off the back of it?
Yeah, well, I have 8 calls this week.
Okay, 8 calls this week.
Yeah. Yeah. So before we came on, I thought that would be a good, knowing what we were going to talk about. I went through my calendar and counted up all my Zoom calls, and I have eight calls this week. I've already had a
Purely
couple of
from
them
posting content.
purely from one post.
One post.
Actually, yeah, it was really from one post. And I think, what a lot of people don't realize is, we hear a lot, and you hear a lot, I know, of, oh, social doesn't work. And you got to unpack that a lot, because you got to go, okay, well, number one, what are you trying to accomplish? Oh, I'm trying to close deals. Okay, well, let's unpack that a little, because there's a whole process to doing that. And then it's like, well, likes and comments are great, but I need deals. It's like, you've got a pot of gold right there in front of you, and you don't even realize it. And it's because we get so focused on immediate gratification, that we forget that relationship building takes effort and work. And right before we came on, I was in my process of out looking at other people's content and commenting, engaging. And I have a strategy that's based on who I am. At my core, I'm an encourager. And so when I go out and look at other people's stuff and their content, and I let that inner encourager come out of me, and that's the way that I comment. And a lot of people go, "Oh, I don't know what to say. I don't know what." It's like, man, just put yourself in a networking event in real life. If you're in the middle of a conversation with somebody, you do know what to say. Just say that, but do it.
If someone has written something, what they want is encouragement.
Right.
And the least that you could write is, oh, it's a really great blog. But the fact that
Right.
you've written that person has noticed you, and
Right.
they're probably going to read your LinkedIn profile. Obviously, if it's crap or it's a CV, they'll just forget about it and move on to the
Right.
next person. But if it's got a title like yours, they're going to probably read more. They're going to be curious. Okay, who is this guy or
Yeah.
girl?
Yeah.
And they're going to read more. And so it's you're using LinkedIn as a way of generating conversations.
Yep.
Who knows where they're going to go?
Yeah. Well, and here's a little thing that I've learned, and maybe it's part of being an encourager, but for most people, for all people at some point, posting something in social media is a huge risk.
Yeah.
Right? It's scary. I mean, we do know that the number one fear of people is speaking in public, right? And the second fear is death. So that means that during a funeral, people would rather be in the coffin than giving the eulogy, right? But I'm bumps, right? But because it's so scary, it's to actually put something out there. It's one thing to stand up in an audience of 200 people and speak. There's a definitive time that it's over. Posting in social media feels so open-ended, and thousands of people and people I don't know and all this stuff can see it. So what I found is, when somebody posts and nobody comments on it, it's like them speaking to a crowd that they get absolutely no response. And that sucks. I mean, that really sucks for people, right? So I like to be the first person to comment. I like to be the one that gets on there and says, "Man, you're doing good. Keep it up." Or, "I like this message. Thanks for sharing. Wow, I learned something from you." Because I'm an encourager, and that's who I want to be. But it also benefits that relationship, because I am an encourager, and I've used encouragement and motivation and passion to build relationships my whole life before the internet even existed. So I just keep doing that, and it still gives me the same results, especially because I'm not spamming people. "Hey, I got a great product. Let's get on a demo." I'm just being me. And the thing is, the conversations come, the customers come, the revenue comes, and it's fun. Like, I'm not beating my head up against the wall going, "Oh, I got to send out another, email. I got to make 20 new cold calls today." Like, it's just not part of my daily rhythm.
So if as a salesperson that's watching or listening to this, what's your recommendation to them? How is it that they can start using content into their daily regime, and how is it that they can actually start getting a benefit from that?
Yeah, I was listening to I'm going to tell a quick story about that. I was listening to a
Yeah.
podcast, and this is a while ago. This is probably 6 months ago. But it was a younger woman in customer success. I'm sorry, she was in sales, and her boss brought her in and said, okay, we need to take a look at your KPIs. And she said, okay, this is the person who is sending out the most emails in our organization, and this is you. And this poor young woman's like, okay. And she was scared because it was a company that was KPI, 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 right? You got to get these out, get these messages out. And then the boss said, okay, don't get, let me finish. She goes, and now let me look at, here's your sales and here's his sales. And she said, what are you doing differently? And she said, well, I just believed in quality versus quantity. And so what I do is I actually do a little bit of research, and I see who I'm talking to, and I find some place to connect, and I make sure that I craft a message that's really personal. And that was her success. So what I believe is have the courage to break the mold and be more personal, right? Be more intentional, be more human, be more social, because it works. It takes time. And I think so many of us are looking, we're in a hurry, we're busy, we got pressure, we got to close deals, but we don't realize that, go slow to move fast.
Yeah.
That go slow to move fast, because at the other end, there's still people, they're still human beings. And when they feel like you care, when they feel a connection, they feel like they trust you, they're going to give you more of their time, and they're going to give you more attention, and they're going to be more graceful in trying to understand. I mean, our platform's a little complicated to understand at first, which really, I hate that. I wish, we could keep making it easier, but because it's innovative, it takes people a little bit of time to get there. And I know when I'm talking to somebody that I have not developed a trusting relationship with, I got to move quick or else I lose them.
Right.
But when it's somebody I've developed a relationship with, they ask more questions, they seek to understand. I have much more of an opportunity to convey the value of what we do, because they're not in a hurry to go, hurry up, is there value for me? Nope, I'm out of here. And so when you perform those, massive KPI emails get out and somebody's willing to get on the phone with you, they're going, all right, you got 5 minutes, capture my attention. None of my calls are, you got 5 minutes, capture my attention. My calls are, hey, how you doing? What's going on? How are you doing?
Yeah.
Your daughter started school. I mean, that was my
Yeah.
post today, right? Your daughter started school. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh my gosh, we never started school that early. I mean, blah, blah, blah. And then it moves into business conversations at the appropriate time. To bring it all the way around, that's why I said so much of my best business started in the bar instead of the boardroom. Because when you're in the bar, so to speak, you get to, on the pub for Tim's audience there. Yeah. It's where you have conversations, you get to know each other, you build trust, and you build the opportunity to go on a journey together. And when you're in the boardroom, you've got, I'm in a hurry, I blocked off 30 minutes, ready, go, impress me or lose me. And I prefer to put myself in situations, or in the former rather than the latter. I just get more wins that way.
So we've got a comment from Mark Buckham Jones. I'm not sure how much that's going to display. Without a true relationship, your clients and prospects will do as little as they have to rather than as much as they can. Without a true relationship, they will only disclose what you need to know. I'll have to read it off here.
Yep.
What you need to know. If you have a greater plan for your business and processes, the creativity to capitalize on deeper understanding. People who trust you enough to share their more inner thoughts or give you knowledge, and most don't possess. What you choose to do with it is up to you.
Wow. That's
nice.
Really great. That is Mark. Incredible. Yeah. Who was that again?
Mark Buckham Jones.
All right, Mark, thank you for that. I mean, that was extremely well said. And yeah, I mean, relationship opens up the opportunity for so many more things. And I think that is probably the key of being in a relationship with somebody. You get more information, you get coached, they become a champion, they help you navigate the other buyers. If it's a buyer's team, they'll give you insights into, hey, these are the real, hey, we told you these are our needs, but these are the real key things that we're trying to accomplish. They give you the insights and the lay of the land because they are your champion, and they're your champion because they feel that connection with you. It's
so just quickly, Brandon, because we are at 20 minutes. I want to ask you this, because you got like 8 meetings off the back of one post. So what did you post? It must have been like a brochure or something about your company or something like that, surely.
Yeah. Well, as you and I both know, when we talk about our companies, nobody really cares, because we all say, because we all say how awesome we are, and everybody goes, well, of course you're going to say that. This post is probably one of my most engaged posts over the last 3 weeks or so. I had a very disappointing situation. My dad and I have not been on the best terms most of my life. In fact, I haven't really seen him for almost 10 years. But we've been, and he's in his late 70s, and we've been trying to work on restoring our relationship. And he finally, my parents finally agreed to come visit us. Now, my mom's visited us a few times, but my dad hadn't. So my dad was kind of coming out for the first time. It was gonna be the first time he'd seen my kids in almost 10 years. And I just shared my disappointment. They both got COVID. They couldn't travel. And, this had been, my wife and I had been really excited about this for quite a while. And it was a big disappointment. And here's what I found with that is that we're all human, and lots of people go through disappointments. Lots of people have challenges with parents. There's a lot of brokenness out there. There's a big need for forgiveness. So not only that, I created 8 calls, and not all of them have been like, let's talk, I want to hear what you do for work. And some of them have just been, I would love to talk to you about, trying to figure out how to forgive my dad. Like, let's do it. And I got invited to be a guest on a podcast and share my experience of learning to forgive. Now, look, I'm not a forgiveness expert, and I don't even know if that audience is going to do any good for my sales per se, but I don't think that way. I think about, I want to share my life, because when I share my life, other people come alongside and share their lives. And we all know that the larger our network, the stronger our network, the more business opportunities we have. So that was my post about my parents getting COVID.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Brandon, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your experiences and sharing about the importance of creating conversations, because they generate sales. And being able to do it in a way that you don't basically spam people or annoy them or interrupt them or piss them off, which is a great skill. Remind people where they can get hold of you, Brandon.
Yeah, so they can find me at a few places. On LinkedIn, it's Brandon Lee Social Selling. They can go, I've got my own content hub. If anyone wants to see about the content I share, learn more about my family, it's brandon.funnelamplified.com. And of course, the company is funnelamplified.com if anyone wants to check that out.
Yeah. Okay. Brandon, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for your insight today.
Hey, thank you for inviting me. It's always a pleasure to be with the guy that I just put your book away, that literally wrote the book.
When am I going to get my book on the back shelf there?
I know. I gotta, you know what? I gotta go send that. It'll probably take a month.
You need to get rid of the high performance habit and have mine on there, I'm sure.
There we go. Here we go. Right. Yours and mine.
There you go.
There
Fantastic.
we go. Yep. I got to get those shipped off. Tim, thank you so much.